The world has entered a time of deep reflection. For many Catholics and non-Catholics alike, the news of the death of Pope Francis brought sadness, silence, and sense of the end of an era. Pope Francis, the first Pope from Latin America, was more than just a religious leader. He was a symbol of change, a man of humility, a man who chose to live in a small guest house instead of the grand papal apartments. He showed compassion to the poor, opened doors for conversations on difficult topics, and also reminded people to care for each other and for the earth. Now that he's gone, the world awaits and wonders. Who will be the next Pope? Will he continue Pope Francis' legacy? Will he bring new ideas to the church? And most importantly for this video, can the next Pope be African? For centuries, the leadership of the Catholic Church has been mostly in the hands of Europeans. Almost every Pope has come from Europe, especially Italy. And this has made many people ask, if the Church is global, why is leadership mostly European? Today, Africa has over 250 million Catholics. That number is growing every day. And the Catholic Church in Africa is very strong, active, and full of young people. Churches are full on Sundays. Priests are being trained in large numbers. Seminaries are growing. Faith is alive. And this raises an important question. If the church in Africa is growing so fast, why not choose a Pope from Africa? Now in this video, we are going to explore that question very deeply. We will learn about how popes are chosen and the role of the cardinals. We will look at the African cardinals who are the most likely to be considered for this great role. And we will hear their stories, understand their faith, and discover why some people believe one of them could become the next Holy Father. But in this video, this is not just about politics or power. It's about faith, it's about history, and it's about possibility. Whether you're Catholic or not, whether you live in Africa or elsewhere, this story matters because it reminds us that leadership can come from anywhere, that wisdom knows no borders, that spiritual strength does not depend on skin color or country of origin. The next Pope could be African, maybe from Ghana, maybe from Congo, maybe from Ethiopia or South Africa, or maybe from Uganda, or maybe not. But the idea is now real. The conversation has begun. And today, you and I are going to take a journey through the important moment in history. We will walk through the halls of the Vatican. We will visit the cities where these cardinals serve. We will also look at their lives, their missions, and their faith. By the end of this video, you will not only know who the African cardinals are, but you will understand their chances, their challenges, and their calling. So stay with me. Subscribe to this channel if you believe in Africa's future. Like this video if you believe faith has no borders. And let us begin our journey by first understanding how a Pope is chosen. Now, the election of a Pope is a deeply spiritual process, one that connects the church to its roots, but it's also a highly structured procedure. It all begins when the papacy becomes vacant, the vacant seat. It begins immediately after the Pope's death, and in the wake of this, the Camarengo, the senior cardinal responsible for the church's administration, ensures that the Pope's affairs are in order and also prepares for the conclave. Now, during this period, the Vatican operates in a unique manner, and the cardinals get ready to decide the future of the Catholic Church. Now, the conclave, a Latin word meaning locked together, refers to the meeting of all cardinals under the age of 80 who are eligible to vote for the next Pope. And this event happens behind closed doors in the famous Sistine Chapel, where no one, including the cardinals themselves, can leave until a decision is made. Now, the cardinals cast their votes by writing the name of their candidate on a piece of paper, and the votes are then counted. And if a 2/3 majority is reached, then the new Pope is elected. And if the majority is not reached, the ballots are burned, and the smoke that rises from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel is either black or white. To signal the outcome, to the waiting world. Black smoke means no decision, while white smoke signals that a new pope has been chosen. Now, the pope once elected makes his first public appearance, and the world is introduced to the new leader of the church. He is formally introduced as the Bishop of Rome, and his name is announced to the public. It is a moment of joy, a moment of tradition, and a moment of expectation. Now, this process, the Pope, once elected, makes his first public appearance, like I said. But this process is meant to reflect not just the authority of the church, but also the unity of the Catholic community across the world. Now, when a Pope is elected, it is said that the Holy Spirit has guided the cardinals to the right person. But can the process change? I know that's a question you're asking yourself. Now, while there has always been a lot of respect for tradition, there has also been growing discussion about whether it is time for the papacy to be more representative of the global church. Africa, with its vibrant and growing Catholic population, stands out as a region that is increasingly involved in the life of the church. But choosing an African pope would be groundbreaking. Historically, the papacy has been a European tradition. Most popes have, come from Italy and more recently from other parts of Europe. But however, it is very clear that the church in Africa has also grown significantly in strength, in numbers, and influence over the years. Could this be the first time for Africa to finally have a representative on the papal throne? To understand why it may be time for an African pope, we need to look at those African cardinals and understand who they are, their roles, and their qualifications. Now, the influence of Africa on the Catholic Church goes way back. Africa was one of the first places where Christianity spread. Now, in North Africa, if you remember, the early church was rich in the theological thoughts and debates. St. Augustine, one of the most influential theologians in Christianity, was born in the present-day Algeria, and his ideas shaped Christian doctrine for centuries. And another important African figure is St. Cyprian, a bishop and martyr from Tunisia, who things still resonate today. Now, fast forward to today, and Africa remains a major player in the Catholic faith. Over the past centuries, Catholicism has also spread rapidly across sub-Saharan Africa, from Nigeria to Uganda, from Kenya to Congo. Churches are filled to the capacity, every Sunday. And Africa has a very young population, and youth are the future of the church. Seminaries are also growing in number, and the church is also producing priests, theologians, and lay leaders in greater numbers than ever before. But listen, there is a spiritual vibrance in Africa that you don't find in many parts of the world. The Catholic faith in Africa is not just about rituals and prayers. It's alive with energy, with an eagerness for spiritual growth and social justice. While the Catholic Church in Europe has seen declining numbers, the situation in Africa is completely different. In fact, Africa is one of the few places where the church is growing, with millions of new converts, priests, and religious communities emerging every year. And yet, despite all this growth, the African voice in the Papa has been silent. African Cardinals and theologians have written extensively about faith and social justice, but no African has yet been chosen to lead the Catholic Church. Why? Is the church's leadership still rooted in the European mindset? Could it be time for a change, a shift towards recognizing the global mature of the Catholic community and embracing the leadership potential of Africa? Now, let's look at these top African cardinals that you must actually watch and know maybe they could be the next pope. First of all, let's look at Cardinal Peter Taxon from Ghana. Cardinal Peter Taxon from Ghana is one of the most recognized names in the Catholic Church today. He was born in 1948. He rose from humble beginnings to become a powerful voice for social justice, climate change, and economic development. His work has not only focused on Africa, but also on the global church. As the prefect of the dicastery for promoting integral human development, Taxon has also led initiatives aimed at poverty alleviation and advocating for peace across the world. In the 2013 papal election, Taxon was one of the top contenders, and his candidacy sparked a lot of interest worldwide. While he didn't win, his presence in the Vatican's leadership remains important, and his name continues to come up in discussions about the possibility of an African pope. His warm, compassionate leadership style, his deep understanding of the global issues, and his unwavering faith make him a strong candidate for the papacy. And with Africa's growing role in the church, many believe that maybe he could be one to carry the mantle of leadership for the next generation of Catholics. We have another cardinal, Cardinal Wilfred Napier from South Africa. He's also another key figure. Cardinal Napier has also been an outspoken advocate for peace and reconciliation, especially in his home country, which faced years of apartheid and racial division. Napier's life and work have made him a respected leader, not only in Africa, but also in the wider Catholic community. And his ability to bridge divides and his focus on healing a broken society makes him a powerful candidate for the papacy. Napier's wisdom and commitment to justice could bring much needed change to the global church. We also have Cardinal Dieudonné Nzapalainga from Central African Republic. He also stands as a symbol of peace and reconciliation. In a country ravaged by civil war and sectarian violence, Cardinal Nzapalainga has worked tirelessly to bring Christian and Muslim communities together. His efforts in the Bangui Forum, an interfaith initiative to foster peace, have made him a hero in the eyes of the many. And his calm, demure, tireless commitment to peace and deep spirituality make him an inspiring leader. Cardinal Nzapalainga's ability to navigate conflict and bring about reconciliation would make him an excellent choice for leading the church through its own periods of tension and division. We also have Cardinal Berhaneyesus Solafile from Ethiopia. He represents a unique blend of tradition and modernity. Ethiopia is one of the oldest Christian countries in the world, and its people have long had a profound connection to the Catholic faith. Cardinal Solafile is well respected for his work in interfaith dialogue and his commitment to serving the poor and also marginalized. As one of Africa's most respected clerics, Cardinal Solafile's leadership could bring a new inclusive voice of the papacy that reflects both the rich tradition of the church and also the modern challenges faced by the global Catholic community. We also have Cardinal Fridolin Ambongo Besungu from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Cardinal Fridolin Ambongo Bassungu of the DRC has also been a very strong voice for human rights and justice in a country that has experienced years of war and instability. Cardinal Ambongo has also been a vocal advocate for democracy, the rule of law, and the protection of human dignity, and his leadership in the church is also deeply tied to his commitment to social justice, making him a powerful figure both in Africa and the global church. But let me ask you, why is Africa ready to have a pope? First, the African Catholic Church is incredibly strong. It is growing at a rapid pace, and its influence in the global church is undeniable. Secondly, Africa is a continent that faces many of the challenges the church is trying to address: poverty, war, inequality, and climate change. So the church needs a leader who understands these challenges firsthand, someone who can speak to the realities of life in Africa and also the broader global south. Lastly, Africa has the leadership it needs. The cardinals we've discussed, Taxon, Napier, Nzapalainga, Ambongo, and others, they have all shown the ability to lead, to inspire, and to bring about change. So the time has come for the church to recognize their potential and also elevate them to the highest office. Africa's time might be now, and the possibility of an African pope is also becoming less of a dream and more of a reality. Of course, there are challenges. While Africa's population is growing, it is also a potentially fragmented and socially complex region. Some critics argue that the church's traditions are too rooted in European and Western practices for an African pope to succeed. But however, African cardinals have also shown time and again that they are more than capable of navigating these complexities. So the church must balance tradition with the realities of the modern world. But the question is not whether an African pope is possible. It is whether the Catholic Church is ready to fully embrace the future. Now, as we've explored the question of whether the next Pope could be African, it's not just about geography or demographics, it's about the future of the Catholic Church itself in Africa. With its vibrant faith, its rich cultural diversity, and its growing influence in the global religious community, stands as a powerful candidate for papal leadership. So the African Cardinals we've discussed, Peter Taxon, Wilfred, Napia, Dieudonné, Nzapalainga, all those, Fridolin, Ambongo, they are not just figures of authority in their home countries. They are leaders with global vision, spiritual depth, and also practical experience in addressing the challenges the Church faces today. Their work, rooted in justice, peace, and reconciliation, has made them prominent voices on the world stage. So the possibility of an African Pope would signal more than just a shift in the Vatican's leadership. It would symbolize a broader recognition of Africa's contributions to the Catholic faith and also its role in the shaping the future of the Church. So as an African Pope could bring new energy, new perspective, and maybe a renewed focus on the issues that affect not just Africa but the entire world. But however, there are still hurdles to overcome. The Church's centuries-old traditions are deeply rooted in Europe, and the question of whether it is ready to move beyond these traditional boundaries is one that will actually require careful consideration. But with the growing global influence of Africa's Catholic communities, it is not as far-fetched as it once seemed. And ultimately, the future of the papacy will depend on the will of the cardinals, guided by the Holy Spirit, to choose the person who can best lead the Church into the future. Will that person come from Africa? Only time will tell. But the conversation has started, and it's a conversation that reflects the ever-changing dynamic nature of the Catholic Church in the modern world. For the millions of African Catholics around the world, the question is not just about who will lead them. It's about a more inclusive, representative, and forward-thinking church that embraces diversity, unity, and the power of faith to change the world. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like the video for more content on the Church and its leaders. Let's continue to reflect on the future of the faith, and maybe, just maybe, the next Pope will come from Africa.